Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd.
As business attorneys for healthcare practices, we meet a lot of interesting people and learn their amazing stories. This season's theme, Brad, is the business of medicine today. Gone are the days of grandpa's medical practice with paper charts and old school treatments. We're going to confront business and healthcare issues faced by the modern medical practice.
You know, it would be fun, Michael, to go back in time and sit there with grandpa and talk about the new technology for medical practices.
Yes, yeah. Agree, Brad. Before we get started, we do have a special guest this week. For the first time this season, we welcome back our series regular and partner, Jay Reyero.
Hello. Thanks, guys, for having me back. Always glad to be here. And speaking of technology, Brad, did you hear the sad news recently?
No.
I'm guessing maybe that Brad finally realized that his dad jokes are not funny and he's broken into a deep depression.
Well, first off, dad jokes are always funny.
Yes.
They will never not be funny.
But not Brad jokes.
But not Brad jokes. That's different. And then second, I think Brad only goes into deep depression during that period of time when he has to go back to his room and set us straight to the bar for happy hour. Probably the only time. But no, it was announced with sadness that TiVo officially stopped selling DVRs.
TiVo is a word I have not used in a long time. All right, Brad, as the resident grandpa and vocabulary expert, educate the audience on what Jay just said.
And I would also add, as a resident historian, I am here to help the audience. All right, audience members, for those who don't know what we're talking about, some fun facts. The term DVR means digital video recorders. Okay, so that's the first thing. But TiVo was the first company to sell DVRs back in late 1999, back when Michael had already been practicing law about 30 years, basically allowing people to control when and how they watched television, which became a game changer in home entertainment at that time. It actually enabled users to pause, rewind, and record their favorite TV show, as well as schedule when they wanted to watch it. No more need for that VHS setup that took forever and it lasts. And more importantly, it also enabled viewers to skip commercials.
What did TiVo even stand for?
Yeah, so when I saw the news, I went down a rabbit hole trying to figure that out because you think it had to stand for something. And from what I understand, it actually doesn't stand for anything. When they were naming the device, they wanted something that could kind of develop its own meaning, so they didn't want it to be an acronym. But they also wanted it to end in O, I guess, because ending in O makes it sound more fun.
Yeah, I actually never really thought about that name either, TiVo. But now that it doesn't mean TiVo doesn't really mean anything. I had some couple ideas, maybe a little more creative. Like it could have been called Replay, because you'll never miss a moment again. Or this other one, Time Shift, bending time so TV fits your schedule. I mean, all of those I think would help describe the product better.
I feel like you have long flowing hair as you're saying that with like a sword or something from Highlander. Do you guys even remember life before TiVo and DVRs? I was talking to my girls. Katie and I were going through things that used to happen when we were younger that they will never understand. Talked about Mapsco and trying to figure out where people lived and how to get places. But one of the things I talked to him about was when you wanted to watch a show, you had to be in front of the TV when the show came on, and if you missed it, you had to wait for a rerun. And then eventually they had the VHS, and you couldn't even schedule it. You had to put it on, start taping 3 hours in advance to be able to leave the house and have it tape, and then you'd have to fast forward to get to it. So they were gassed. They're like, you mean you couldn't just pull it up on the TV?
Yeah, I do remember the VHS taping days. I feel like I always would record on VHS when it was something I wanted to rewatch. So I'm going to date just how long it's been since the Cowboys have won the Super Bowl. Because that was an example where I watched it live, but I also made sure to get the VHS tape set up and recording going the moment that Super Bowl started. I actually still have those tapes. I don't know if I have a player.
I was just about to ask that question.
How are you going to watch it?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because in college, I started doing something when Seinfeld came on. I had a VCR, and I would tape it and sit there and watch it, and then pause when a commercial would come on. And I had like 6 VCA, like I don't remember, it was an hour, 2, 3 hours, was how much I could get on tape. But we used to in college have Seinfest, where we just throw one in and we just watch them back to back to back, back to back with no commercials, which is now called streaming.
Exactly.
I'm sure Cameron's sitting off camera.
I know,
right? Has no idea we're talking. He's waving us off. All right.
And then what's funny is you think about skipping commercials. And so before it was 30 minutes, you had 30 minutes, you had to watch the show, you had to dart to the bathroom, to the fridge in that 2.5 minutes of commercials. But now 30 minutes, it's a 22-minute show. Right. An hour show, it's a 40-minute show. And with most streaming, there's no commercials, but then you get that one that you're watching, and all of a sudden you get that timer up in the corner that says 1.5 minutes, and it's counting down. And I've never had more strong feelings of anger when I see that I almost don't want to even watch the show anymore.
Well, I tried to watch something on Hulu, which I don't use regularly, and I clearly don't have the premium package, because I started watching a show and they had commercials, and I was like, okay, I'm out. I just turned it off.
We upgrade immediately. We pay the $5 right then to upgrade.
Oh, my gosh. I think maybe we should probably get towards today's story, because I'm sure our audience members, for the youth ones, have no idea what we're talking about.
All right, Jay, jump in.
Yeah, so our story today is going to start with a familiar face. Let's go all the way back, speaking of time shifts, to season 6. And do you guys remember Dr. Creative, the board-certified physician in internal medicine?
Yes. Well, Jay, you did a time shift there, did jump to season 6. That does feel a little retro now, kind of thinking about it. As a reminder for our audience members who don't know, Dr. Creative started went the traditional route, finished her medical school, residency, joined a large private practice, and did internal medicine specialist as an employed physician.
Yes, yep. She then made the inspired decision to go out on her own and built what was at the time a relatively new model, concierge medicine. Brad, do you remember what your research assistant told you what concierge medicine is?
You mean Siri? Or Chat? Or Gemini? One of those?
I don't know which one. You're so not loyal these days.
I know, right?
Well, audience members, for those that don't know, concierge medicine, sometimes called retainer medicine, is a personalized healthcare model where patients form a direct relationship with their primary care physician. Instead of relying solely on insurance, patients pay an annual fee or sometimes monthly retainer, which gives them enhanced access to the doctor. Often include same-day appointments, longer visits, and more proactive approach to wellness. Is really designed to provide convenience at a higher level of personalized care.
Man, good job. Michael, Grandpa does remember.
By the way, I'm really liking this Grandpa nickname for Brad. Right? Maybe it'll stick. Okay, well, this in many ways was the first in the movement towards wellness. The idea of concierge medicine is to remove the friction between a primary care doctor and the patient and incentivize a more proactive approach to healthcare.
Yeah, great point, Michael. The retainer model really does create an incentive for doctors to be proactive, monitoring the health trends, addressing concerns early, building a strong doctor-patient relationship. Like in summary, really, it's less transactional care, but more long-term health outcomes.
Yeah. And so from way back in season 6, Dr. Creative's concierge medical practice has been humming along. We've been there, part of the team the entire time. And so naturally, Dr. Creative reached out to ask about an issue that had been occurring more frequently and was looking for a little bit of advice.
Sounds exciting. It sounds like we have a story within a story.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so this one, it's centered around one of Dr. Creative's patients. Let's call him Noah Showman. Noah had been a patient of Dr. Creative's for a couple of years, but for the last year really started to kind of cause some problems and frustrations within the practice.
First off, great name. I have a strong thought on why you named this patient Noah Showman. Oh, because you didn't call him the greatest showman.
Right.
But I will not assume, because I know what Michael would say if I said that. So what were the problems?
Let's just say there was a lack of respect for Dr. Creative's time?
Well, maybe Noah was a hypochondriac and just going in to see Dr. Creative every day. Is that what was going on?
No. So early on, he was having a little bit of trouble being on time. Let's say he would have an appointment at 9 o'clock in the morning. He would show up to the check-in desk around 9:15, 9:20. One time he even showed up about 45 minutes late to an appointment. Didn't mention anything, didn't apologize, just showed up, checked in like, yep, I'm here on time. Just act like really nothing was wrong.
Yeah, and we have the ability to have the conversation from the practice's perspective so much and what they operationally are trying to manage with their schedules. I mean, I think all of us, from a patient perspective, have been the ones sitting in the waiting room and all of that. But at a concierge practice, there's not, particularly with Dr. Creative's practice, there's no waiting room time. I mean, it is white glove treatment. And so this tardiness really causes an impact, a ripple effect that, can affect all the other patients and their experience with what they're looking for with this kind of alternative treatment. So we get, even in, the non-concierge settings, we get calls frequently where they're trying to figure out, how do I balance the relationship, customer service, and setting boundaries?
Yeah. And so, these disruptive, yes. And then Noah had a string of even more disruptive situations come up. So it started with an appointment that he had. It was on a Thursday morning, about 4 o'clock on Wednesday, the day before, right before the office is shutting down. He called to reschedule his appointment. Apparently, he had a last-minute business trip that was causing him to have to fly out on Thursday.
Okay, that's unfortunate, but it does happen.
Right, so no big deal. So the scheduling team said, okay, got him a new appointment a couple weeks later, and this time it was on a Wednesday afternoon. About 2 hours, I guess, before that appointment, Noah called again and said, hey, I can't make it. My kid's sick, and I need to pick her up from school.
We all three have can relate because we all have had the sick kid. But another cancellation.
Yeah. I mean, a dad with, 3 kids, you never know when, especially this time of year, you're going to get that kid get sick bingo card hit. They're such petri dishes.
Yeah.
So the practice again said, okay, totally understandable. Got him rescheduled. And Michael, I'm going to let you guess. What do you think happened next time?
The dog ate the homework and had to cancel?
First, I want to meet someone's dog who actually eats their homework. I don't think I've ever really seen that happen. But no, this time,
if you want to meet a dog that eats women's underwear,
that's on your bingo card.
I've got one. Yeah.
Well, so this appointment, very first appointment in the morning on a Tuesday. Can't go wrong, right? Monday evening comes, after hours, everyone's home. Noah calls the practice, gets the voicemail, leaves a message saying he needed to cancel that appointment. So, of course, staff gets in about an hour before his appointment, gets that message, finds out that's being canceled.
Well, this guy either has the worst luck or something else is happening here. What was his excuse, Jay, this time?
Nothing like the last one. It's just he was really busy and it was going to be hard to fit it into his day.
Guy's a legend in his own mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So the straw that finally broke the camel's back, so to speak, happened the next time. So after the team accommodated, got him rescheduled, he didn't call or reschedule for the next time. He just didn't show up. No notice, no excuses, no reason, just his time came and went.
I don't think this guy's ever heard of the idea of being others focused. I mean, the amount of time the staff had to be spending on this one no-show patient must have just exhausted him. And then, is that when Dr. Creative finally reached out to you?
Yeah. So it was actually during the time that he was supposed to be there. So she found herself with a little bit of free time that she called and was just, venting kind of her frustrations with the whole experience and walking us through the timeline and wanted to know, what options did she have to just keep this from happening again? Not just with Noah, but any future Noahs that she may encounter in her practice.
Yeah, it goes back to my comment a few minutes ago of, what boundaries can you set? And, we know the question we always get, can I charge for a no-show?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great question, very common question. And when people say no-shows, they're not just talking about people like Noah who just actually don't show up. What they're really talking about most often is those that cancel with less than 24 hours before their appointment, because that's difficult to fill on such short notice. And we've all seen these policies from our own providers when we go and we sign those paperwork that says that you require at least 24 hours notice for cancellation.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen these, and most practices might give you a get out of jail free card one time if you no show. But Noah seems like he's an all pro at making appointments that he does not plan to keep. And I guess you could say, I'm starting to get that. I'm going to go with it. The no showman was a showman.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
Brad. Wow. When I first saw I heard you talk about this name, I was like, oh my gosh, what movie character are they about to plant? And it was just right there in front of my eyes.
Right, there it was.
Okay, well, let's go into commercial and discuss the options Dr. Creative has, and we can find out what happened with Noah Showman.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Welcome back to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd. We're still here. We're series regular Jay Reyero and Michael and Jay and audience members. If you don't remember, this season our theme is the business of medicine today, and we just had a whopper of a story, Michael.
Yes, yeah. So quick recap. First, I think we've formally adopted the nickname of Grandpa.
Grandpa.
What?
Yeah.
Get up alone.
And we also revisited an old character from season 6, Dr. Creative, concierge medicine doctor, who had a problem patient, Noah Showman, who did not believe in respecting other people's time, whether it was at the beginning just showing up late, or then just eventually not showing up at all and being cavalier about it. And so we really kind of led us to that point of Dr. Creative asking the question, can I charge for a no-show? And so that's where we'll start, Jay. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes. No. Maybe. It's a little bit of a complex question and answer.
Jay, well, I really think it sounds like the legal response of it depends. Okay, where do you start?
Well, like everything that we talk about and everything that we do, it talks about we got to start where, how's the practice structured? So are federal payers involved? We always like to start with that because, are we talking about federal payers involved, or are we just talking about elective cash-only practices? So, for example, you deal with Medicare. Medicare says, yeah, no show fees are allowed as long as they're applied equally to all patients, no discriminatory type applications. If you deal with Medicaid, it can be more tricky. For example, in Texas, it's prohibited. And then, as always, you have commercial contracts. You got to go back and look at every contract just to see, is there anything in there that prohibits them, that limits them, that narrows their application? So you kind of got to start with, what does your practice look like structure-wise?
Yeah, and so let's jump to, if you're cash-only medical practice, you said in Texas, charging for a no-show fee is still perfectly legal and often sometimes essential to protect your time of the physician, the staff, and obviously the revenue itself. But there's a bigger discussion about whether to do it even if you can do it.
Right. I mean, totally agree, because charging for no-shows can sometimes cause problems because sometimes patients respond emotionally. They believe that whatever their reasoning was justified, whether you agree with it or not. And so when you're telling them no and then you're charging them money because of it, it can increase the risk that, they're going to cause a scene. They're going to go online and post negative reviews. They're going to report you to the licensing board or attorney general, just generally create chaos that angry people do.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly create a friction point whenever you set this type of boundary between the physician-patient relationship. And let's not forget, Dr. Creative's practice is a concierge practice where that patient is choosing to use their own money to invest and pay for the practice, so for the services. And so there is that critical balance of customer service that goes with setting these types of boundaries, because that patient has a choice of where they will receive healthcare. And so, that's a very real consideration, that you may be losing patients or risk losing patients every time you do this. And there can be a ripple effect if that patient has friends that are also patients of the practice, and then, or goes online, like you said, there could be a real kind of crisis management situation that in a worst case could evolve there. So say a provider can and wants to have a no-show policy. Let's talk a little bit about best practices.
Yeah, so I think the two most important aspects are going to be, one, you got to put the policy in writing with clear terms and conditions, and then two, patient education. So kind of on the policies, you're going to want to first create, spell out, and describe exactly what this policy is, when it applies, how it applies, so it's very clear. And what I like to see when we're building those types of policies is just at the very beginning, explain why this is a policy, that it's not arbitrary, that it actually does have a purpose that is, at the end of the day, reasonable. But most importantly, you don't want to be a jerk. You just want to be reasonable about.
You hear that, Brad?
What? Hey, Grandpa. Hey, Cameron, turn his mic up. But the policy has to be reasonable. You don't want to create so many exceptions that you swallow the rule, but you also want to acknowledge emergencies happen, things happen, life happens. And so when those circumstances happen, you want to be empathetic about it, and you don't want to charge your patient for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. That you just need to adjust for that human element that does happen. I know we're talking about a concierge practice here, but this affects any type of practice. And to Jay's point, the patient needs to understand that an unfilled slot is lost revenue to a typical practice. And then you have staff time, which is irretrievably just goes to waste, which the practice has enough. If they have enough no's, they can, on the cancellation, other patients who wanted to get in to see the doctor could get in sooner or be called. And then obviously, hopefully, for most practices, potentially helping offset any lost revenue. But this is, to your point, Jay, great communications will make a difference here.
Right. And then once you have that policy developed, you've got to communicate it to the patients. You want to put it on the website. You want to have it in the intake forms. You want to have them sign potentially the document, especially when it's on part of the financial policy acknowledgement form. You want to have it at the bottom of appointment reminder emails or text messages. Look, they're going to probably claim that they don't remember seeing it, but the more that you can do to say it wasn't because of me is going to be better for you in the long run.
And if you're going to have a policy to set this type of expectation, just to reinforce what both of you just said, communication's key.
Yeah. And I think one underappreciated aspect is employee training, because, as we talk about, if this policy is going to be triggered, sometimes it can cause that emotions and chaos. So you really need to kind of equip your team to have those conversations and have the tools and the training to kind of navigate the difficult conversations, whether it's with scripts or just truly an understanding of the policies, but more importantly, the exceptions. You don't want to have employees giving out free exceptions here and there. And so training them on all of this, and you want them to be polite and empathetic during all these conversations, but you also want them to be firm so that you're beholden to the policy that you've created.
Yeah. Be nice. That's the first easiest thing to have. But to your point, empathy obviously is really needed here, but having that well-trained staff that remember that ultimately that they do want to get that patient in, but by saying no or they do get hit with that no-show fee, that's actually going to protect them and your overhead.
Yeah. And you also want to document the history and kind of results of no-shows for patients, especially when like a person like Noah Showman, where you want to kind of track kind of what the history has been so that you have some support later on if you take certain actions.
Yeah. And so you get a letter from the medical board that says, unprofessional conduct because you're charging for fees, or, we've seen any variation of what a patient ultimately complains on that may have no connection to it. We've even seen, patient abandonment issues connected to, them not getting to be treated, and it really stemmed back to them not wanting to pay the no-show fee. And having that documentation usually just kills that complaint right from the beginning, because you've got it charted and they'll see that you have the policy and that you were following through with it.
Yep.
Speaking of Noah Showman, did Dr. Creative do a no-show policy and apply it to Noah?
Well, yes. So Dr. Creative did end up putting one in place. We worked with, kind of talked through all these issues, and Dr. Creative felt comfortable putting it in place. And so we worked to develop the document and get it in place. But as for Noah, he ended up getting the boot. His actions and his lack of respect for time and the staff was just too much, and it was never going to change. And so what we ended up doing was working with Dr. Creative to terminate that patient relationship and make sure that we weren't going to have any patient abandonment claims.
Yeah, I don't know how you could have a true claim for patient abandonment when a patient that never actually sees a doctor. But literally, all joking aside, even for patients that keep doing no showing, I agree with Jay that it's essential that you still follow the process in terminating the physician-patient relationship correctly, even for those bad apples. Now, Jay, I do have a follow-up question for you. How did Noah respond?
Unsurprisingly, never heard from him. Given the lack of investment he had put into the practice, it probably wasn't a big issue for him to go find someone else. And plus, he didn't have anything urgent really going on, so I wouldn't be surprised if he really hasn't done anything since.
Yeah, he's probably still trying to figure out some place to go cancel. He's just like, I no show. They're like, you're not even a patient here. Like, oh, sorry, I'm not coming for my appointment.
He's a virtual patient.
He's a virtual. All right, Jay, some final thoughts here.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway, I think a practice has to tread carefully before implementing a cancellation or a no-show policy. It's more nuanced than the question might suggest.
Yeah, totally agree. For practices considering it, think about the best practices. If you do want to have a no-show policy, we've said it over and over, but we're trying to protect you guys. Clearly communicate. Have reasonable cancellation fees. Don't go crazy on it. Give some grace, an option if they do no-show. But those are the things that help protect you from those complaints down the road. Now, Michael, how about your final thoughts?
Similar. Any decision to adopt a no-show policy should not be taken lightly. And as Jay mentioned at the beginning, you have to start with making sure you can do it from a compliance perspective. And we didn't spend as much time on that because ours was clear with Dr. Creative. But even if you can, you really want to evaluate the impact to the practice or the potential impact. Are you solving for a single Noah Showman type person, or do you have a more widespread problem? So many problems will be avoided with, as you said, Jay, good communication, employee training, and some of the biggest problems come from an employee holding firm to a policy and not listening to the nuance of a particular situation.
Yes, situational awareness. All right, audience members, believe it or not, that is all the time we have. Jay, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Grandpa.
Next Wednesday, we are back, everyone. We continue with the business of medicine today when we address the question that's actually on everyone's mind right now. Can I prescribe compound weight loss drugs now? Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, if you like this episode, please subscribe, make sure to give us a 5-star rating, and share with your friends.
You can also sign up for the ByrdAdatto newsletter by going to our website at ByrdAdatto.com.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.